One cold autumn evening, a homeless man named Sergey appeared on the streets of a big city. He had long been accustomed to loneliness and the cold asphalt beneath his feet. But tonight something was different. Since the morning he had been haunted by a strange feeling, as if someone was watching him. Sergey trudged along the empty streets, wrapping himself in an old, worn-out coat that no longer provided warmth. He pulled the hood down low. But even that didn't ease the anxiety. The man kept glancing over his shoulder, but he saw no one. Around him, there were only shadows and silence. He decided to take shelter from the wind in an underground passage. But as he descended the steps, Sergey noticed something strange. In the corner, by the wall, stood a figure. It was completely faceless, as if its face had been erased. Sergey froze, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. The figure didn't move, but he could feel it watching him. His heart started beating faster. Sergey tried to pull himself together, convincing himself it was just a trick of light and shadow. He took a step forward, then another. The figure remained in place, but the anxiety in his chest didn't fade. Sergey emerged from the passage on the other side of the street. Now he was certain someone was following him. Turning the corner, he quickened his pace, trying not to look back. But this feeling, this sticky, oppressive sensation that someone was following him, wouldn't let go. At some point, he couldn't hold back any longer and turned around. Behind him, 3 figures were moving along the deserted street. Faceless, they moved like shadows, silently gliding over the pavement. Sergey felt a cold fear engulf his body. He started to run. But no matter where he turned, the faceless figures wouldn't fall behind. They made no sound, didn't try to catch up with him, just followed him at a distance, matching his pace. Sergey ran through courtyards, crossed streets, but it was impossible to escape them. It seemed they always knew where he would turn, as if they were reading his thoughts. On the horizon, he saw an old abandoned house. Hoping to hide, Sergey dashed inside. He slammed the door behind him and leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. But even here, in the darkness and cold, he didn't feel any safer. The silence was deafening, and the shadows seemed to thicken around him. Sergey realized that there was no running from these beings. They weren't interested in his life, they didn't want his body. They just followed him like a shadow, haunting him as a reminder of something terrible and inevitable. Then he understood there was nowhere left to run. Summoning the last of his courage, Sergey stepped out of the house and faced them head-on. The faceless figures surrounded him, and in that moment he felt his entire being plunge into cold and darkness. But the fear disappeared. All that was left was emptiness, as faceless as those who had pursued him all evening. Sergey closed his eyes and realized that perhaps this was the end, or a new beginning.